Good evening, Mr. Chandrasekaran. We meet in difficult times, at a time when this country has seen probably the worst air crash in recent times, at a time we can still hear probably the cries of help that may have gone out at that time. I want to ask you, Mr. Chandrasekaran, you said this was the most difficult time that you and your company have faced. Where were you when you first got the information?
On June 12th, on that day, I was in Bombay in my office. I was in an internal meeting when I first heard the news. It was quite shocking and something that is incomprehensible that suddenly you heard. And it took me a few seconds to gather myself. And then immediately I rushed to the airport to fly to Ahmedabad.
How did you hear about it? Was it a colleague?
It is a call that I got from someone. Hey, Chandra, what is happening? Then immediately I went out and my assistant was there. She switched on the TV. But I didn't wait for anything and immediately I rushed.
And what were your first thought? Did you get the information on what were the casualties like, what had happened, or was it just instinctive that you ran and left?
I knew immediately I have to go to Ahmedabad. So I asked the office to immediately arrange the flight. I will go to the airport. And then I started making calls as I was leaving office, sitting in the car and going to the airport. I was making calls to Air India, making calls to our people in Gujarat, our manager in Gujarat. There are many Tata companies. And so getting information piece by piece. And by the time I reached the airport and was getting into the flight, I knew the enormity. And I was also watching online and taking calls and trying to assemble people. And it was a very difficult situation. So I was trying to think, what should I be doing? Immediately the thought came to me that immediately what we need a response team on the ground. And we need to have people. I didn't know how many Air India people will be there. So my thought was, while I called Air India people, I also called all our Tata colleagues. You're dealing with it, people are calling you at the same time. Because people want to know more. People think that I would know more, but I was actually like anyone else. So that's what happened.
Did you initially hope that there would be some survivors, or did you from the word go know that it was a bad crash?
No, I was like everyone else was hoping that people will survive. You were praying like everyone else. God, what is happening? And, somehow you hoped that people will survive because you have not seen the site. You are only hearing stories. So I was only hoping that damage will be there, but that people will survive, or how many will survive. These were thoughts that were going through my mind.
But there is anger amongst the families. They are demanding answers. Many people are totally taken aback. And you must have read these stories too. There was the Joshi family. The father was settled in London, in UK, was coming back to pick up the wife and their 3 children. Those pictures have been there across social media, across various media. And the entire family was wiped out. Then there is the case of, there was Arjun Manubhai Patolia, who came to just give his wife's ashes away. She had died earlier. He'd left his 2 daughters, 8 and 12, back in London only to do the last rites of his wife. And now his children are orphaned. What would you say to them today? these people?
I think it is the most horrific story that you can ever hear. It is such a heart-wrenching situation. It's very, very difficult to console anyone who has lost a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, a son. It is very, very difficult to console. Whatever you may say, it cannot be sufficient enough to console them from this loss. So all I can say is that I grieve with them as much as they do. And when I say this, I mean it for me and all my Tata colleagues. We just want to consider them as part of the Tata family for life.
But there is no life.
It is.
They have gone.
But the families that they live today, we just have to be with them. All we can promise is we will be with them and I will be with them. But it's very, very hard to console because you can't get the life back.
How would you be with them?
Helping them in every which way, now and in the future.
Those two young girls, 8-year-old and 12-year-old, what are they going to do without their parents, and how will the Tata Group be with them?
So there are structures we want to put in place. One of the things that we have been thinking is to create a, say for example, a AI-171 trust, and then which will be available to them to look after. But there are many things, it's only not the financial need. There may be other needs. So you've got to think through and then create the trust and other functioning infrastructure so that we can be with these families. Some will not need any help, some will need some kind of a help, some will need emotional help. We don't know. We have to find this out. But the point is, it could happen to any one of us. It is very, very hard to explain what these people will be going through, and it's very hard for us to console.
What would you want to say to them today?
It is a extremely difficult situation where I have no words to express to console any one of them. I just deeply regret that this whole accident happened in a Tata-owned airline. And I feel very sorry. And all we can do is to be with them at this time. We grieve with them. And we do everything we can. मैं इतना बोलूँगा कि जो हुआ है वो अनफेथेबल है. हम बहुत रिग्रेट कर रहे हैं और आपके साथ ग्रीव कर रहे हैं और आपके लिए जो कुछ हम कर सकते हैं हम करना चाहते हैं. अभी इन दिस आवर ऑफ क्राइसिस और सब समय में, आने वाले समय में आपके लिए जो कुछ कर पाएंगे हम करेंगे.
Have you spoken to any of these families?
I only so far met the lone survivor, and now we plan to visit as many families as possible myself. And between me and my colleagues, we intend to visit all the families. But now currently our job is to help the families to come to Ahmedabad, collect the remains, and provide them some grief counseling, and then all the way to the final rites. Currently, that's what we are doing. We have one Tata colleague as an angel deployed to work with each family. And there are 400 Tata people across companies in Ahmedabad. And what we're trying to do is to be with each of these families in the next few days, get through this stage. Then we need to meet them, we need to support them, we need to see what we can do and what we need to do.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, on the first day, there was a statement where you said you need a transparent investigation into what happened. I want to ask you, where have you reached with that probe? Because there would be one Tata investigation apart from the other investigations. So, what have you found so far?
See, this is a crisis or a tragedy of a gigantic proportion. It has affected everybody. Yes, the families are affected, but the whole country is affected in a manner of speaking. There is a lot of fear. There is a lot of anger. I can understand that. Personally, I have also traveled a lot. In my life, I used to travel 200 days internationally a year for 20 years. And I have faced flight diversions, flight cancellations, all kinds of issues. And every time one small thing happens, you get affected. And this I can understand what is the level of fear that would have set in. So everyone wants to know what happened. And I can tell you, I also want to know the same. Unless or otherwise we know what happened, there is no hope to fix it so that it doesn't happen again. If we know what has happened, then there is a chance to fix it so that it doesn't happen again. But we have to go through the process. Airline systems are quite complex, and the airlines have been built with a lot of redundancy. If such redundancies are not there, these kind of incidents can happen very often. So the fact that these are rarity is because such systems are there, but still this occurred. So unless or otherwise we wait for the investigation, we can get into a lot of speculations. There are speculations about human error, speculation about airlines, speculation about engines, maintenance, all kinds. There are a lot of speculations and a lot of theories. But the fact that I know so far is this particular aircraft, AI-171, that particular tail, has a clean history.
Has a clean
history. And the two engines, both engines, the right engine was a new engine put in March 2025. The left engine was last serviced in 2023 and due next maintenance check in 2025 December. And both the engine histories are clean. When I saw that, I couldn't find anything with the team. Both the pilots are exceptional pilots. And the captain, Sabarwal, has more than 11,500 hours of flying experience. And the first officer, Clive, has more than 3,400 hours of flying experience. What I hear from our colleagues is they were excellent pilots and great professionals. So we can't jump to any conclusions. And there are a lot of theories, And you see them in YouTube, you see them in media channels, you see them on other channels, and a lot of experts. So all I would say is that unless we wait for the investigations to come through, and I am told by all the experts that the black box and the recorders will definitely tell the story. And so we just have to wait for that. And before that, it's very important not to jump into any conclusion.
So if you're saying everything was perfect, the engines, one was new, one was due for servicing only by the end of the year, then what went wrong? There are two questions. There are two questions that are being speculated on. There are only 2% of air crashes worldwide where the crash happens in the ascending period of the aircraft. Only 2%. And this AI-171 was one of those flights where, while taking off, the crash happened. With such low data in terms of percentage probability, what happened?
See, Navika, as I said, I am not an expert to be able to decipher this. All I know is the facts, the records that I have seen. I am not to say this is ruled out, that is ruled out.
You're the Tata Group, and you said you would have
a
separate investigation.
No, we can't do any separate.
Preliminary?
We can't do any separate investigation. All the records will be with the DGCA, and the DGCA has set up those commissions, and they will do the investigation. There is no independent investigation possible.
So no preliminary probe by Air India itself, internal probe?
There is nothing we can do. We can only see our records.
Were there any red flags? No. Were there any maintenance red flags that had been put out by DGCA? We understand two show cause notices.
I have seen this record for these aircrafts and the engines and the pilot record. I sat with the team, discussed this, and I didn't see any red flags. Nor did they highlight any red flags.
But DGCA has fined you in the recent past, over the last maybe year or so, where there have been several fines that have been put on Air India for different kinds of red flags and maintenance issues. And I can read out to you these. The DGCA put a 30 lakh fine because Air India and Air India Express did not meet operational robustness, maintenance related delays. There have been different kinds of fines.
See, Navika, the point I am making is that what I am giving you, the information, is very specific to this tail number and these engines and this pilot and this incident. And any safety related issues, we take it very seriously. See, there are two things in the airline. One is very core, which is the safety, and there are other things that you have to do. And all I would say is that anything safety related, the first thing after we took over, and there are many things you yourself, there are many makeup issues that are there. Still, there are some IFEs don't work, some seats don't function. Okay, those are customer experience issues. We are trying to sort them out. They are different from safety issues. Anything that safety issues there, there is no way DGCA will allow us to fly. And with respect to this specific aircraft, what I have seen is what I have told you. But this is not to say anything more extra, because we need to wait for the investigation.
There are some reports that say that June 3rd and June 5th, there were two show cause notices from the DGCA.
See, anything other than this particular aircraft, we can talk about it separately. But all I am giving you data is only with respect to this incident, this aircraft, these engines, and these pilots.
I want to ask you, the Turkish technique maintaining Air India fleets, that has been raised as an issue that could probably be the cause in this case. How would you respond to that speculation?
None of the 787 Dreamliner aircraft, we have 33 of them. none of them are maintained by Technic. Predominantly, most of them are maintained in India by AISL or SIA Engineering. That is the engineering company, AISL, and SIA Engineering Company in Singapore. So these are the guys who are maintaining these aircrafts. They have nothing to do with any Turkish company for the 787 fleet.
For the 787s. You have almost 33 787s in your fleet. The Dreamliners are suddenly the bad boys in the fleet. There have been whistleblowers in the past who have raised many questions about the safety norms followed by Dreamliners. At any stage, have your people raised safety concerns on the Dreamliners to you?
See, practically speaking, there has never been a safety concern raised because Dreamliners have been operating globally for a very long time, from I think 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And R&D also procured them much before
You bought Air India.
We bought Air India. So it was bought most of these. I think when we bought Air India itself, we had 27 Dreamliners. And then we got additional 6 through Vistara. So Dreamliner specific complaint we have not received. So while we have ordered a large number of, in the new orders we have ordered, we have made a lot of order on A350, but we have also got options to buy 787. But there has never been a specific concern on the 787. But all these videos are also surfacing and they are doing a lot of viewing at this point in time.
But you must be aware of the fact that this is not only something that is surfacing now. The United States, the FAA, is investigating into some of these charges that have been made by former staff of Boeing. I want to ask you, the Federal Aviation Administration is looking at some of the exposes made by Sam Salepur, and then there has been John Barnett, who's raised some concerns, now late John Barnett, and they've said that these concerns did exist in the Boeing aircraft.
See, these are things that are being dealt with the investigative agencies in the US, but overall, 787s have been flying for a very long time, and in Air India it has been flying 787 for a long time.
So then let me ask you, you said, and I completely bring to you the viewer feedback, the customers out there who use your airline every day for commuting. They are at the end of their tether because there have been 13 Dreamliner flights that have been grounded between the 12th of June and today, 6 days. 66 flights that have been cancelled, and it is spreading nervousness of the kind that has never been experienced before. Forget the flying experience, just the fact that flights are getting cancelled, information is not coming in, the fear factor has taken over at airports. There is literally a riot out there. How do you explain this?
See, Navika, let me give you a full breakdown. First, I would like to say that there are more than 1,100 flights that we fly every day. And in the last 6 days, there have been in general anywhere from 5 to 16 or 18 flights, depending on the day, that have been cancelled. Okay, first that's that number. Second, what has happened in this period of 6 days? There are 3 things are at work. The first thing is we have had to go through the DGCA checks. The moment the accident happened on the 12th, DGCA has mandated additional checks to be done on all the 787s. So we have had to ground many 787s, and as a result, we are short of aircrafts and we had to cancel those flights. That is one cause.
How many of the
24.
33?
I'll complete out of the 33. About 24 have gone through the checks, and the remaining are going through. And it is taking time, but it will get through. The second reason is also this whole airspace has got closed. Iran and the whole thing that is happening in Middle East. So as a result, flights have to be diverted. When the flights are diverted, many other flights gets cancelled. And these two have a knock-on effect, because if the flight doesn't arrive in time, that flight cannot take off. And when that cannot take off, we have to cancel it because there is no aircraft. The third is technical issues. And when we take off and land in any destination, you must know that we'll be doing line checks. And every now and then, it is common for in the line checks to find some spare part to be changed or something to be changed. Not in every flight, but it does happen. So because of that, there may be delays. If the spare part is there immediately, they change and immediately they take off. If the spare part is going to take time, and even if it comes and then they fix it, they may lose the slot of
taking off, yeah.
Not taking off or landing, because they will close the airports at 10 o'clock, some places, etc. So these are the three things that have caused. It is not all our technical errors, but I agree with you. Air India could have been very proactive in terms of every day saying, if they are cancelling, why are they cancelling? As opposed to a flight getting cancelled, and in these 6 days, because see, normally if they had not communicated, then it wouldn't create so much fear. But because of what happened on the June 12th, anytime there is something happens to a delay or a diversion or a cancellation, even if I was traveling, I will be afraid. That is what has happened. So we've got to do a better job of communication. We have not been good at it.
You are admitting that communication hasn't been very strong.
Absolutely.
And what are the corrective measures that you are undertaking?
So we have set up a communication team. On top of what we have in Air India, there is a regular comms team, and we have put a strategic communication team in place in the last 3 days. And today we have put out the first comprehensive media statement explaining all this, what happened on the June 12th, and subsequently why there has been so many cancellations. When you say, and give them this number, this is the total number of flights, 700 flights we take, this is the cancellations, and why these cancellations have happened. And then we have taken an additional step, because we are going to feel this kind of a disruption for some more time. Our checks will be there. Also, the airspace's closure will be there. So we have decided to reduce the number of aircraft which are flying, so that we can have a lot of buffer aircrafts. We are more than doubling the buffer aircrafts, both in all the wide body and the narrow body, 787s, 320s, and the 777s. We are creating more buffer, and that statement would have been issued by now.
My question to you is also about the fact that Boeing has had a series of bad press, if you want to call it that, but several questions that have been following them. In recent times, in fact, after the crash, there has been a meeting between you and the Boeing head visiting India. I want to understand from you, what was this meeting all about? Safety aspects of Boeing, are they a concern? And what is it that has been red flagged to Boeing in terms of the hardware, the aircraft themselves?
So I did connect with both Boeing and GE at the highest levels. And to be frank, their top team from both the companies traveled and met with us. What I asked both of them, in parallel to the DGCA checks that we have gone through, I asked them to check and tell us any issues are there in any of the aircrafts or engines.
What were your conversations with Stephanie Pope? Because many people are today talking about the spate of technical snags, in quotes, that have hit Air India in the recent week. Are these technical snags because of design issues, or are they regular stuff that often crop up?
See, as I said, the numbers that you have said comprises multiple groupings. Some are very deliberate grounding of planes because we had to go through the DGCA type checks. Then a certain number had to go through or cancel primarily because of this airspace closure and diversions and disruptions due to that and the knock-on effect. Then there is a third category. So since we have not explained all of this, so every cancellation has been reported in the media, and I don't blame the media. I totally hold Air India and our team to account that we have to do a better job of communication. Since that was not done, everything is reported as a technical snag. But none of these technical snags are of the nature that the aircraft cannot fly. It is some part missing, something missing so far. And this is not to say that something else I will not see in the future. So at this point in time, this is the status.
There is a, Tata.
So we have to give a very strong communication on a daily basis, at least for the time being, till such time the confidence is restored.
But Mr. Chandrasekaran, I want to ask you, you're talking about communication to the media. I'm talking about real communication to the customers waiting at airports. The communication link there is probably the weakest ever at this point in time, which is why you have frayed tempers, you have agitated families, you have people, expecting family coming from different locations internationally. And for most people, India doesn't begin when they land in India. India begins when they get into an Air India flight that is got a destination in India. What happens to that brand name, that complete faith in the brand Air India?
See, I can say that in each one of these areas, whether it is communication at the gate or communication at the counters or every aspect, there has been a vast improvement, but it is not where it should be. Still, there is a lot of gap. So we are on a transformation journey. We have done about 3 years. And in these 3 years, we have had to work on every dimension, whether it is in the fleet dimension, whether it is in engineering, whether it is maintenance, whether it is safety, whether it is customer service, technology. We have made progress in all dimensions, but nowhere we should be, we are where we should be. And we know we can get there, but it is taking time.
Let me ask you, Mr. Campbell, the CEO of Air India, insensitivity, I don't know, to the power infinity, with his statement coming in on 13th of June, which is a plagiarized statement. Now, that is not something that we or anybody in India expects from Tata Group. Mr. Campbell's statement has been a complete copy-paste of a statement made after a crash in January in the United States of America. How can something like this pass the muster of the Tata Group?
I think there are a couple of answers here. The first one is currently the focus is about 5-6 days now. Our focus currently is on addressing the needs of all those affected and also get the stability. The second point I want to make is, I think we can split hairs over the words, but I think if you look into this spirit of what has been said, I think we should take it at this moment on what is the matter that he conveyed, and then start to address issues and let investigations get done.
But templated statements, almost AI generated, is that what people
See,
desire?
I have heard about this. I have not analyzed it word by word, but this is something we look into.
You look into. Let me also ask you. There have been issues that have been raised even in the past, ever since Operation Sindoor, about maintenance jobs being done by the Turkish Technic company. I want to ask you: will this? You said it's not Dreamliners that it impacts. Are there other planes that are maintained by them, and how are we going to address that issue?
See, there are maintenance agencies. There are many of them in different parts of the world. And these contracts have been set up long term or for a period of time. And as I said, all the 787s are between 3 or 4 agencies, none of which is the Turkish airline or Technic. We have some maintenance of the 777s with them. But all these contracts, where we will do, which agency we will do, all those things are being looked at priority basis, because these cannot be changed overnight. And in geopolitics, you get into these complexities and which we need to address, and we take it on a priority basis, and that is very much under discussion now. Not after the incident, much before.
Okay, so you were already working on that. Let me look at some of the political statements that have come up. The first one that I would want to refer to is Mr. Praful Patel, former Civil Aviation Minister, who has brought in the angle of Singapore Airlines, which has a 25.1% stake in Air India. It's a shareholder, and Praful Patel has stated that it maintains a large number of Air India's wide-body aircraft. They have been silent so far. This is what Mr. Praful Patel said early today on his social media account. Since then, they've put out a statement, Singapore Airlines, that they have been in touch. I want to ask you, were one of the engines serviced by Singapore Airlines and their engineering division? And why have they been silent so far till Mr. Patel's tweet?
See, I can tell you, Singapore Airlines have been a great partner. And since we took over, they have helped us in many dimensions. Even some of the safety procedures, the best two processes, we have taken from Singapore Airlines. We have taken it from Vistara. And many of the processes where we needed best-in-class benchmarks, they have helped us. And they have reached out even in this time. Their CEO is in constant touch with me. And whether it is in customer experience and any other process, they are always available, and very much they are in touch with us. And I wouldn't say anything negative. If I have to say anything about Singapore Airlines, they've been working with us closely, and they've been offering all the help they can.
But Mr. Praful Patel is somebody who has seen your tie-up with the Singapore Airlines when you were Vistara and Singapore Airlines, and then of course Air India is something he's looked at very closely. And his comment on the silence of Singapore Airlines and the fact that your CEO of Air India is actually a nominee of Singapore Airlines does raise a few questions.
No, CEO is not a nominee of Singapore Airlines. In fact, when the CEO was hired by me, he had to quit Singapore Airlines and join Air India as an employee. And that time, Singapore Airlines did not have a stake. We owned 100% of Air India. And then when the Vistara merger happened with Singapore Airlines, with Air India, then Singapore Airlines got their 25% stake. So he's not a nominee of Singapore Airlines.
But the question on the silence still remains.
The silence of who?
Singapore Airlines, as stated by a man who knows.
See, I don't know what he refers to by being silent. If he is referring to Singapore Airlines not putting out a press release or making a statement, I mean, I don't have any comment on that. But if you ask me whether Singapore Airlines have been
a good partner,
have they approached us, or they offering us help? Answer is absolutely yes.
Let me also pick up a statement that was put out by Member of Parliament Supriya Sule, who.
And then the other thing I want to also say is that the 787s were also bought by Air India in 2013, and I think Minister Patel was there at that time. I don't know when he was the minister, but these are things that happened 10 years ago, 13 years ago.
Yeah, when government-owned Air India ordered the Dreamliners.
Correct.
So, is there a question to Mr. Praful Patel?
No, I'm not asking any question. I'm not asking
any question. Is there a message?
I just got this tweet today. Then I said I didn't know what he was trying to say. I know him well, but I don't know what he meant. But the only point I want to make is that there is nothing wrong with Singapore Airlines as a partner, and they have been good partners over the last 3 years. And with respect to the Boeing 787 aircraft, they've been there for a long time.
Let me also ask about Supriya Sule, who tweeted, traveling from Delhi to Pune on Air India flight AI-171. The flight is delayed by over 3 hours, no clear communication, no updates, no assistance, and very bad service. Such delays and mismanagement are becoming a norm with Air India, she said.
Yeah, I saw that tweet immediately. I wanted to speak to her. In fact, I tried to I was trying to get my office to get her, but I was in the flight, I was traveling. So I told our Air India team to immediately speak to her. And what my team told me is that they were trying to get her on the earlier flight, 5:50 flight, but they couldn't contact her assistant or whatever. Then the weather conditions in Delhi was bad.
So your team couldn't get in touch with her assistant.
They were
the protocol.
Then they were also delayed because of the weather in Delhi. So I asked the team to speak to her, and I think she acknowledged. And then the only thing I think the feedback my team told me is that she was very understanding, but the only thing she said is that why can't you announce things properly? And she gave some very constructive, good feedback, very good feedback. But the problem is, whatever delay happened.
Delay happened. But Rajiv Shukla also, recent spate of cancellations and delays of numerous Air India flights due to technical issues is deeply concerning. It's the same thing. It was a broken seat for the agriculture minister one day.
It is the same thing. All these things are, if you had communicated better, if you had proactively said these flights are going to be cancelled. Every day, 24 hours in advance, we say these flights are going to be cancelled, then the problem could have been averted. That's what we went through in the last 6 days.
So is the Air India team overwhelmed, or is it generally bad communication?
I think these 6 days they are very overwhelmed.
They're overwhelmed.
These 6 days, I think they are after the 12th. Now they are managing everything, but these communications and all that, because this airspace also got closed. So one thing after another, and then, but I think this statement today will help. And going forward, they will have a process to announce everything every 24 hours in advance.
Mr. Chandrasekaran, on the day of the crash, or maybe in a few hours of the crash, you also sent an open letter to your employees. And you said this is probably the worst phase that the Tata Group is going through. Why do you call it the worst phase? 26/11 happened. Of course, between the two tragedies, man-made tragedies, I don't know in this case what is, I can't even call it man-made till the investigation is done. But which was worse? Is there a way one can describe?
I don't think there is any need to compare. I was there in Bombay when the 26/11 happened, and normally when I was in TCS, usually I'll be meeting somebody in chambers on most of the days. It so happened that that day I was not there. I just drove past Taj around 9:30. I reached home. As I entered my home, my wife screamed, watching television. So we kind of saw what was happening live. So I know what happened in 26/11. That was very gruesome. And this is of a different level, different type of accident where we still don't know the reason. It is not a terrorist attack, and I hope it is not one of the things that you referred to as sabotage. But I think the Tata Group.
Is there a possibility of a sabotage?
No, you said it, I didn't say it. I basically say I don't want to go through and pick anything. I sincerely believe that the most sensible thing to do is for everybody to wait for investigation, and we need a very transparent communication of the findings. Everyone needs to know. I need to know, you need to know,
when?
The families need to know whenever it's done.
When do you think?
I think they will give a preliminary finding in 30 days. After that, I don't know when the final finding will be. And see, I have not been through this like you. I'm as ignorant, if you will, or like anyone else, right? I have not gone through a airline crash or accident of a major magnitude where the Tata Group over the 150 years has seen many crises, seen 2 world wars, seen the 26/11. It is another accident of a gigantic proportion. And to my mind, the magnitude, the scale at which it has happened, the number of innocent people, not only the passengers, the bystanders, those young students in the college hospital. And for me, it affected me personally a lot because in Pahalgaon, I don't know whether you heard about the story of a man getting shot with a wife, and
yes.
So this person is a TCSer from Florida.
Okay.
And then he was traveling for a vacation after a few years. Came to Calcutta. The first thing he did is to go for a vacation.
Okay, so one of your own.
So it's not a good feeling. Yeah.
From Pahalgam to...
Yeah.
But everybody needs closure, Mr.
Everybody needs closure. Yes, that's why we need to know what happened. The closure will come only if it needs what happened.
And there are some people on that flight who chose, there were options of other flights, but they chose to fly with Air India. What would you want to say to them today?
As I said before, nothing I can say that can be a consolation. I can only say, I am with all of you. The Tata Group is with all of them. Every Tata person feels for them. The number of messages I have received from not only CEOs of Tata companies, many people across the Tata Group sending me mails every day, sending me messages. Sir, if there is anything that we can do, we want to be part of this. Not that if there is anything that we can do, we want to help you. We want to be part of this. And not only Tata people, I tell you, the business community has been great. So many people. Everyone feels for this. I think something about India. In situations like this, we come together.
Yes, there is a strange story. Two of your crew members, one a Kuki, one a Methi, and
Yes,
the
yeah, I heard about that.
confrontations in Manipur.
Hopefully, bring them together, maybe.
Maybe. But for 30 days, no closure, no accountability. Everything waits for 30 days. Would it be?
We can't jump to any other conclusion.
Who's accountable?
We need to wait for the further investigation. Until you know the truth, who do you hold account?
One expression that has come out is that nobody was there when the cremation of Captain Sabharwal was happening, or some of the other crew members, employees, other people.
That's not true, Navika. We discussed it at length on the day before, and who should be going for the rights for Sabharwal. The Chief Operating Officer of Air India was there. Our head of Tata Group CHR was there, and few more people were there from Tata Sons at different levels. A lot of Air India people were there. And we, as a group, will do multiple things. It is not about just being visible in one location. There will be a senior person who will be there in all the locations, whether it is our crew member or non-crew member. That is why we have created this whole organization. Some will be in Bombay, some will be in Gujarat, some will be in other parts of India. But I don't want to say it for any publicity, but we will definitely visit all the families. All the top people among ourselves will visit all the families. And we have a method of doing that, and it is not for any big statement. So I think let's not make it a we care, we don't care. I mean, caring doesn't mean doing one thing. Caring is much deeper. And so I've also seen those tweets. I think it's best left there.
And to those families who have lost their loved ones, what would your message be today?
I would only say that we are grieving alongside you. And we want to be with you, and we want to support you in every which way possible and you desire. And we hope we can be with you and you can be part of the Tata family for life. And for that, we need to create the system, as I told you, and we'll work on that.
On that note, Mr. Chandrasekaran, very, very despondent times. We do hope the cloud lifts and we know the truth, as you said. Only the truth now will have the power to actually give us closure. In the meanwhile, from each of the 25 crore viewer family that we have in the Times Network, we would say that we are with those families. Sorry, we can't bring back their loved ones, but maybe some of the questions and the answers that you've given will give them closure.
See, the Tata Group over the last 150 years seen many crises. two world wars, the 2611, now this crisis. Sometimes we have no control over preventing a crisis. And it happens. And as cruel as it can be. And that shakes the belief, that shakes the trust in an organization. Tata Group has come through all that times by showing character, by being honest, by being transparent. And that's what has preserved this group and preserved the trust of people in this group. I am a Tata product and I have grown up with the values promoted by the group, be it the founder or what J.D. Tata stood for or Ratan Tata stood for. I've had much closer relationship with Ratan Tata. And we had a lot of friendship and mutual respect. But the values and the transparency, the compassion that has been shown by these people lives in the group. We are all inspired by that. The only thing I would say is that I am no JRD, I am no R&D. But we all are driven by these values and hope we will conduct ourselves and show the character, determination, so that everyone can be proud of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekaran. Thank you very much for speaking frankly and truthfully.